All right, good afternoon, everyone. I'm David McConnell, the EEO manager, and today I have the privilege of interviewing Richard Oxendine in celebration of National Native American Heritage Month. The observance of National Native American Heritage Month has its roots in public law. Over several years, the observance was moved to different months, but in 1990, Public Law 101-343 set the month-long observance in November. Each year, the president issues a proclamation in recognition of the observance. National Native American Heritage Month is observed from the 1st to the 30th of November of each year. The Observance Month recognizes Native Americans for their respect for natural resources and the earth, having served with valor in our nation's conflicts, and for their many distinct and important contributions to the United States. The national theme this year is Affirming Native Voices, and VHA's theme is Trust in Tradition, Authentically Being and Belonging. And I'm happy to introduce Richard Oxendine. Richard Oxendine is a management program analyst in Veterans Health Administration's Office of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. He is originally from North Carolina and is a member of the Lumbee tribe of North Carolina, which we'll learn about today. Richard is a retired U.S. Army military police soldier who served successfully in various leadership positions. His most impactful assignment was serving as the Equal Opportunity Advisor at the United States Military Academy in West Point, New York. Mr. Oxendine earned his Bachelor of Arts from the University of Arizona in Social and Criminal Justice. Richard has attended the Defense Equal Employment Opportunity Management Institute and is certified in mediation and conflict resolution. Richard and his wife have been married for 18 years, and he loves spending time with his 3 children, and he currently lives in Missouri. Good afternoon, Richard, and thanks for taking time out of your busy schedule to join us today.
Good afternoon, David. Thank you for having me here today.
Great. All right. So the first question, to jump right into it, can you share with us today a little bit about your childhood and growing up in North Carolina?
Absolutely. And once again, like I said, thank you again for having me here today. It's truly an honor to be able to come and speak to your facility on Native American Heritage Month. And once again, it is an honor. Growing up in North Carolina for me was specifically Pembroke, North Carolina was quite different. As you know, I realize now, being an adult, now looking back at it, was quite different than what most people's childhood growing up would be. A lot of the family was very important. So a lot of family never moved away from, Pembroke, North Carolina and the surrounding area. So, it was very, very unusual for family members to live out of state or, just away from that area because, family was so important. So they all stayed in that area. That was a big thing. Another thing was, church was really important. So, the religion was very important. Everyone attended, their local churches. And I think the last count that I saw, there's 107 or 108 local Lumbee churches in that area. And, families attend church together. So church, religion, family was just a huge thing. And then, if you weren't in church on, Sunday, there's a problem. Why, why weren't you there on Sunday morning and Sunday evenings as well? So, but church was a real important thing growing up there in Robeson County, Pembroke, North Carolina. Like I said, family was important. At Sundays, we families would just gather around the table and, and have a huge lunch. And when we're looking at the foods that are very important to our tribe particularly. I could look at a table in any home and I can tell you what's going to be on that table. Particular foods. We're looking at things like chicken and pastry, collards, cornbread, those fry bread. Those things are going to be on. It's just something that's going to be on every table when you're looking at the Lumbee tribe in North Carolina. So growing up there was very, was very centered around family, was centered around church, and was centered around food. Farming was another big thing. Most of the people in Robeson County and Pembroke relied on farming as a way of means to survive. Tobacco is a big product down in North Carolina, so working in the tobacco fields during the summer, that's why from 4th grade up until I joined
Mhm.
the army. I was every summer, that's what I was doing. I was, working in the tobacco fields, supporting my family on their farms. So, farming was a big deal. So, those are the some kind of the things that I remember growing up in Robeson County. Our tribe was the Lumbee tribe was, you know, I didn't realize it at the time because I was living in it. But now that I look back at it, it was very impactful on my life that I just didn't even realize at the time. A huge thing that we done as a tribe growing up was every during the week of the 4th of July, there was called the Lumbee Homecoming Week. And that was a week where everybody just gathered back in our town. If you moved away, you came back home. And it was just a week full of celebrations with powwows, pageants. We have a Miss Lumbee pageant, Little Miss Lumbee, so we had these things that are going on throughout the week where we're having all these celebrations. So that was a big thing, and it's still a big thing,
Mhm.
going back there, being able to reconnect with your tribe, being able to reconnect with your family. So it's still a big thing, in that. So that's something I specifically remember. And then some other things, I graduated, and this was not odd to me. Like I said, wasn't odd to me at the time, but now that I look back at it, it's different. I won't say odd, but a little different. But I graduated high school with approximately about 350, um, students. The surnames within the Lumbee tribe is something that is different from most areas. Like my last name is Oxendine. I graduated with another 80 or so Oxendines, but there weren't family members of mine. So there was certain surnames that the Lumbee tribe has. Locklear is probably the most prominent surname, like Heather Locklear, the
Mhm.
actress. But Locklear, Oxendine, Lowry, Hunt, and Chavis. Those are some of the most, prominent surnames of the Lumbee tribe. So I'm looking at about 120 Locklears that graduated with me, but they're not related. Just everybody has, the same surnames in the Lumbee tribe. So that was something that was very, at the time looking at it, it wasn't, I didn't think it was a big deal or different, but as I, look back at it now, I can tell that that's something that could be unusual to an outsider. And then also, it's another thing I want to bring up about growing up is the way that we talked, the Lumbee tribe talks. We don't have no official language. We don't have a different language, but it's
Okay.
the dialect and the way we talked. Um, I was telling Dave a story about how, when I went to basic training, when I joined the army, I went to basic training. I got made fun of because of the way I talked, and it was just the dialect that I talked, the words that we had our own words that was not grammatically correct, but we used instead of, other words. So, being in the army for so long, I kind of corrected my English, my language, and then now when I go back home, everybody looks at me weird because I talk normal and I don't talk like the Lumbee people talk. So, but yeah, it's the dialect. And another story, I was as Dave said earlier, I was in the Defense Equal Opportunity Management Institute down in Florida, and I was on an evening I was there. I was in a Walmart, and I heard someone talking in an aisle over, and I just heard the way they talked. I knew that that person was from my tribe just based on the way they talked. So I walked over and went, the next aisle, and I confronted that individual, and I asked her. I said, "Where are you from?" And she told me she was from Robeson County, North Carolina. And I knew I didn't even have to look at her. I didn't have to see her. I just knew the way she talked. So dialect is a big thing growing up in North Carolina. Is something that you have to, you know. As a person going into there, you have to get used to the way people are talking. But growing up overall was a great experience. I learned so much from my family. I learned a lot about my tribe and what we stand for and why it is important to carry on these traditions and things. And that's what I'm trying to do now is to carry on what our tribe, what is important to our tribe, and trying to tell that to my kids so it carries down from generation to generation.
That's wonderful. Just a couple things. The surnames, after we talked earlier, when then you hear some of the surnames, and if you Google them, if they're on Google, that yeah, sure enough, Lumbee tribe. So
Yeah.
Lowry's and that I met, and but we're going to talk more about your military service. But as far as it's somewhat similar. Like when you joined the military, there was diversity. I mean, that was your experience with diversity since both you and I, we grew up in homogenous populations, and so that was the biggest impact of joining the military was this exposure to diversity. But it's interesting for you being Native American and a member of the Lumbee tribe, having just growing up around that community, and so your exposure to diversity was when you joined the military. But Richard, can you share a little history of the Lumbee tribe of North Carolina?
Yeah, absolutely. The Lumbee tribe, we're a Native American community primarily based in Robeson County and some of the surrounding counties in North Carolina. We are a state recognized tribe in North Carolina with approximately 55,000 enrolled members. We're the seventh largest tribe in the nation, largest tribe east of the Mississippi. The Lumbee tribe takes their name from the Lumber River, which flows through Robeson County in North Carolina. Um, and we're often referred to as the people of the dark water because if you ever go to, Robeson County and you visit the Lumber River, when you look at it, the water just looks dark. I mean, it looks almost black when you look at it. Very unusual compared to, most bodies of water that you look at. Our people are referred to as the people of the dark water often. Early Lumbee Indians were not forced to move west like a lot of Indians. This is eastern, because North Carolina is on, obviously the eastern border, and we're more to the east in North Carolina. So we weren't forced to move from our area. So we kind of lived peacefully amongst English settlers in that time in the 17th, 18th centuries. Excuse me, we maintain, our native identity while adapting to the English, or no, adapting to amongst the English natives, and that's why with the Lumbee Indians we didn't grow up on a reservation. We don't have a reservation there is because we maintain we maintained when staying there, and then we just continued to live, and we adapted to the English, and then tried to maintain our native identity. Um, it's widely believed that the Lumbee tribe is a mixture of five other tribes, being the Waccamaw, Siouan, the Coharie, Tuscarora, and the Halawa Saponi tribes. And it's widely believed that the Lumbee tribe came from a mixture of those native tribes, and they lived amongst John White's Lost Colony and continue to survive today where they originally were at. As I said, the Lumbee tribe is a state recognized tribe. Um, we're not a federally recognized tribe, and that's due to one of the big reasons is due to the Lumbee Act that was passed by Congress in 1956. And it was signed by President Dwight Eisenhower, and it was basically given us recognition as a tribe, but gave us a restriction that we wouldn't be eligible for services as a condition for tribal representatives at that time. That's a condition that the tribal representatives at that time agreed to in order to achieve the status to become a recognized by the federal government as a tribe.
Okay, awesome.
Significant events that I'd like to bring up. One of the big things I'd like to talk about is, that's important to the Lumbee tribe is it's an event that happened in 1958, and it's the Battle of Hayes Pond. And the Lumbee people are strong people, very resilient. Back in 1955, the KKK came into Robeson County and set two crosses on fire in two women's yards, and warning them of race mixing, basically. Um, They later came in and had a rally in near this pond, this Hayes Pond, and the Lumbee people who were, you know, was not going to stand for that. They were led by a lot of veterans from World War II. They came in, circled the KKK, fired a couple rounds, and basically outrun the KKK from Robeson County. And that was the last time basically the KKK held a rally in Robeson County. And the Lumbee people, was confiscated their regalia, confiscated their flags, and then they marched right in the middle of town with that, celebrating what they had done. So it's become kind of a holiday for the Lumbee people in the celebration of the Battle of Hayes Pond.
Oh, that's awesome. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. And that's just interesting, as far as the name, people of the Black Water, because, like even, there's so much history, and then, names are important as well. I just remember the Iroquois Nation is people of the Longhouse, but there's just so much history, and, over centuries. And so, even our nation is very young. Many tribes have been here before English settlers, and just the history is just amazing, and everyone's research can be richly rewarded through that. So wonderful. Next question is you're in a tight knit community. You're this in the county is Lumbee tribe, but what led you to join the United States Army, and were there any Native American veterans who inspired you? And then also, what did your parents think about your decision to join the military?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'll start with my parents. They really were very encouraging of me to join the military. So this was pre 9/11. So I joined in 1999, and my parents just was very encouraging. They thought it was the right thing for me to do. They knew that I had I just had this feeling that I needed to serve. I needed to give back. Growing up, service was always a big thing for me. I was, as a kid, I was in the Boy Scouts. I was an Eagle Scout. So, I felt like I was a leader, and then, I knew that service was something that I wanted to do. So, my parents was very encouraging of that, and I knew that the military, at the time, I didn't know, but going back looking at it, Native Americans serve at a higher capita rate by more than any other ethnic group there is. So, it just kind of, reinforced in me that that was something that I needed to do. I had one cousin that had joined the army and was a Desert Storm vet, and he was still in the army at the time, and he kind of encouraged me and pushed me to make that decision. So and you just once again, I think it's just the need to serve. I felt that was the big thing that pushed me, and my parents really supported my decision in them.
Okay. All right, great. And can you tell us some of your assignments and your deployments in your because you served 20 years, you've been retired now for 4 years, I believe.
Yes,
Um,
yeah.
yeah, so what are some highlights of your service in the United States Army?
Absolutely, yeah. So, first, I went to, basic training, and like I was telling you earlier, it's just the eye-opening to go from, I'd never been away from North Carolina. It was
Yeah.
just the only thing that I'd known. And I went to basic training in Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri, and it was just eye-opening. And my first assignment was to Germany. So I went from living in, North Carolina my entire life to being shipped overseas to Germany for 2 years. So but I got there and it was awesome. Had a great time. Deployed to Kosovo while I was there. Became a sergeant, and then I left from there and came to the military district of Washington, where I was at Fort Myer, and that was right after a month after September 11th, 2001. So as I was driving in, I could see the hole in the side of the Pentagon. Was there. It was a very an emotional time, but it was a great assignment for me there. I was able to actually connect with my cousin that he was in the military district of Washington at the time, so I was able to connect with him there. After that, I deployed to Iraq for a year. I came back to Fort Leonard Wood here. I deployed to Iraq for a year, then became a drill sergeant. After that, I was able to go to Fort Bragg, North Carolina, which is back home to where,
Okay.
it was 40 minutes from my parents. So I was able to kind of reconnect with my tribe, reconnect with my family. I was there for 3 years, so I was able to, on Sundays, could go to church with my family, could eat a little dinner with my family, lunch with my family, just those things that I grew up, doing. I was able to do again for those 3 years, while I was at Fort Bragg. And then came back to no, actually, I deployed to Afghanistan while I was at Fort Bragg. So I was there for Afghanistan for a year. Uh, Came back to Fort Leonard Wood, done time as a first sergeant here, and then went to West Point as an EO advisor to the superintendent of the academy up there, which is very impactful for me. Kind of led me to where I am now with the Office of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion for VHA. Being an EEO advisor kind of opened my eyes up to the world of, diversity, something that was always important to me. But kind of opened my eyes up to that, and then that's when I realized that's what I wanted to do in my career. So working in the EEO field led me to working in the diversity and inclusion office currently. I retired from the military in 2020. So I've been retired for 4 years. Some of the things I wanted to highlight of my career, my tribe, when I redeployed from Iraq, my tribe gathered at my family's house and had a ceremony for me and presented me with an Eagles warrior feather in that ceremony at my parents' home. And that was a very grateful time for me because, that was something that, when Native Americans come back from battle, their tribes would present them with these eagles warriors feather, and that's something that my tribe done. They presented that for me, um, and as you can see here in the pictures, this first picture on the left. That's me and my mother, my father, and my sister, and the one on the right is myself and the Lumbee Tribes Warriors Association. That was there presenting the Eagles warrior feather to me. So that was very, very, special for me and something I'll remember and my family will remember for the rest of our lives. Another special moment was when in 2017 I was awarded the Military Service Award from SAGE, the Society of American Indian Government Employees. Um, I got this award. It was very important. It was based on my military service and what I was able to do in my time in the military. And I was presented to me. The picture on the right is when I received the award. And it was special because I didn't know it, but when I got there to the ceremony, there was another member of my tribe, another Lumbee, that I didn't even know, never met before in my life, who was a member in the Air Force. And he was there. He was also being presented the same, military service award. So it was special that I got to, receive this award alongside of another Lumbee Indian. That day. So I was very grateful. Yeah, and then my time in the military, like I said, I deployed um, to Iraq and Afghanistan. Um, Very meaningful times for me. I know there was um, oh, sorry. And with these pictures here, I was able to numerous times throughout the military. I was able to speak at different events. This is a picture from 2012 when I was able to, speak at Fort Leonard Wood for their Native American Heritage Month. And on the picture on the right is members of the Osage Nation who came and performed prior to me speaking in 2012 there at Fort Leonard Wood. So it was very impactful day for me and hopefully everybody that was attended because they, was able to see the Osage tribe perform and see what was, important to our to the Native Americans on, on how we dance and how we celebrate our culture, and then listen to me giving, remarks for the month. And lastly, like my deployments was very impactful. Deploying to Iraq in 2004 to 2005 and deploying to Afghanistan in 2011. It was very, very meaningful and I just, I think about those times quite frequently about, being able to serve as I did. And picture on the left is a picture of me in Afghanistan getting ready to go on patrol. Um, uh, just getting you doing all our preps prior to going out on a mission to make sure that we were going to be successful and that we have everything, uh, the way that we needed it to be. Like I said, I spent time at Fort Bragg. It was kind of one of my best assignments ever. And while I was there, I was able to become a jump master. And this is a picture of me getting ready to exit a perfectly,
Yeah.
perfectly
Perfectly good airplane, right? So,
perfectly good airplane, jumping out of a perfectly good airplane. So,
yeah,
yeah. So my time in the military was very important and very impactful, and I tell everyone that it was the best decision that I've ever made.
awesome. No, these pictures are wonderful. I like the airborne picture of being, serving there as a jump master. I did my 5 jumps. I got the airborne wings, and that was good enough for me, right? So, but I really love the picture of your family, and the reason I asked the question as far as what did they think, and I'm glad they supported you, but when people join the military, their aperture opens up, and sometimes life changes, and you don't come back, right? But you're still a proud member of the Lumbee tribe. And what you mentioned earlier, it's well known. Native Americans serve in greater numbers per capita than any other group. And when you think about the history, the massacres, the relocation, but then just this dedication to serve their nation. I think that's incredible. And so thank you for that, and everything you've been through, all the deployments that you're safe back with your family. Um, Last thing is there anything else you would like to share, Richard?
I just want to say thank you for, having me here today. It's been an honor, and a privilege. I thank Dave for inviting me, and I just hope that I was able to pass on some knowledge. And if you want to learn more, I please encourage you to go out and do some research on not only the Lumbee tribe, but also, any tribes that may be local to you or that you may want to learn on. So,
Yeah,
but thank you
yeah,
again for having me.
yeah. Thank you. And then, Richard, one thing I had in my notes as far as the University of North Carolina at Pembroke, and the focus on education. You may have mentioned that earlier, but
Yeah,
uh,
I may have skipped not talked about it, but the Lumbee tribe is very education is a top priority with the Lumbee tribe, so very important to us. So I think in 1888, with assistance from the North Carolina General Assembly, the Lumbee tribe created the Croton Normal School, and it was a school that was developed to help teach Indians to be public teachers,
right,
and that developed into a college, the university, and now is a University of North Carolina, which is a Division II school, an NCAA. It is I think around 4,700 students at the time, and it is growing. It is a big part of our town. It's really helped out to make Pembroke grow into what it is today. Um, and so it's just a school that was started to help teach Indians how to teach in public schools, and it's became one of the University of North Carolina system's 17
yeah,
schools. So
awesome. Okay, well, thank you for bringing that up. And again, thanks for sharing with us today, joining us, and then the wonderful pictures. We do have some time, so we don't have a lot of people. So if you would want to, if you have a question, you can put it in the chat, or you can raise your hand, and we can call on you, and then you can unmute yourself and feel free to ask Richard a question. So known Richard for a while now, and so he's very open. And if you have a question, he'd be more than happy to answer it. Uh, Got a question in the chat. Do you powwow in your community?
I, well, I try to attend as many powwows as I can. I was fortunate enough last year to attend the Gathering of the Nations in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Within my community, when I go back, I don't participate in the powwows. I don't dance. I didn't grow up dancing. I didn't grow up drumming. It was just something I never did growing up. I kind of, wished I had been more involved in that, but I don't participate in the powwows, but I definitely go and I celebrate and enjoy the powwow when I get a chance.
Okay, awesome. Next question I have is what was the biggest lesson you learned from your tribe that you took with you during your time in service?
Oh, that's a great question. I think the biggest lesson that I learned is, the importance of family, and staying connected with family, because I think that's what really kept me going through a lot of times, when I was deployed, when I was, in Germany. Being able to connect with my family was what really kept me motivated and kept me centered there. So I think just the importance of family was probably the biggest thing that I took from my tribe that kept me pushing and going throughout my time in service, and something still today. I mean, I speak with my family very often, as most people do, but it just centers me when I'm
Right.
able to speak with my mother and father and you know, other family members.
Okay, awesome. And then there's a question I think you addressed a little bit earlier. Do you speak your tribe's language? But there's not a specific language, Lumbee, that has survived, but there's a dialect, right?
There's no official language that has survived. It's been said that there was a language that was lost, um, and people are trying to reconnect with that and to redefine that. But yeah, there's no official language. But if there was, I would definitely want to be able to speak
Okay.
then.
Yeah, and you think about the diversity and we're in the great numbers, right? And we mentioned at the Defense Equal Opportunity Management Institute, there's streets named after native nations and tribes. And I remember seeing a couple with C, and I was going through it, and it's like, how many can I identify? And so I think I was talking to you, identified like 15, and I felt pretty proud of myself until I Googled it, and there's over 90, right? Just tribes that begin with C, and you just think of all of that. So Gloria asks, do you have an example of an English word that is different in your dialect or
Uh,
in?
yeah, so one that pops to my mind is uh, mummic, um, which is not a word that a lot of people other than the Lumbee tribe use, and it's like basically like messing around, like kids like messing around, quit mummicking around over there is something that that was said growing up, that a word that if I would say it to anyone else that nobody else would know what I'm saying. Um, and it was just a play on different words where
Okay,
weren't was like he I weren't doing that, was used a lot. It's just the way that broken English is basically a lot of it. So those are kind of two examples of um,
right.
some of the English words that was different.
Yeah. And then we got a question here, and you may have talked to people, especially out in Albuquerque and different tribes, but um, any do you have any you know reason to believe why Native Americans are more inclined to serve than other groups? I mean, obviously you can't speak for other groups, but but like even places I've been stationed, looking back, there a few Oxendines and Locklears, they were I served with many. So any idea when you talk to other people of the Lumbee tribe and other Native Americans on this this willingness to serve, in strong numbers?
I think it goes back to the history of Native Americans, what they went through in the past, and just knowing that it's their war their they fought so much in the past, and it's just a sense of serving that they want to, as Mary put in their warriors protect, or a history of their warriors protectors as warrior protectors. It's just, I think it's just that knowledge of that and saying, hey, I want to continue on doing what my ancestors done. I want to continue on doing what my predecessors have done, the people in my tribe. So yeah, I think it's more, just connecting the past with the present, and then especially now, post 9/11, with the global war on terror, it has given an opportunity for Native Americans. I think more Native Americans are serving post 9/11 than there was
Right.
pre 9/11, because it's given them the opportunity. They see that there's, the United States is at battle and they want to participate in that. So,
Okay. All right. We have time for another question or two if anyone would like to ask a question. Are there any annual community customs, traditions, or celebrations that you or your family celebrate?
like I said, the big thing is, and I talked about it earlier on, was the Lumbee homecoming week and the 4th of July. It's just the time to reconnect with the tribe. So those we do that every year. Everybody comes back home. You go back, the powwows, the celebrations, the pageants. It's all a big thing. So you can reconnect with your community, your family, and also reconnect with your culture. So that's probably the biggest thing that we do is our annual Lumbee homecoming celebration.
Yeah. And then, we talked about earlier, there's a distinct leadership. I think there's the president of the Lumbee tribe, and then there's, an infrastructure that, that maintains traditions and provides services to the Lumbee Nation.
Yeah, so we have a Lumbee Tribal Council, and it's based of different tribal representatives. We have a tribal chairman. His name is John Lowry. And fun fact, he graduated high school with me. We graduated high school together, so he's their tribal chairman. He was
Awesome.
young, but he was elected as their tribal chairman. But within our tribe, we have, a department of, energy. We have a veterans association. We have Department of Agriculture. So we have these different departments that kind of that help the Department of Housing, that really helps the people of the tribe that, our tribe builds homes for the less fortunate,
Right.
so if there's, families that's out there that is suffering, that, doesn't have a good home, our tribe will go in and build a home for them. So they do numerous things to help the people of the tribe out and then we do have a cultural department that maintains, our traditions, that maintains our culture. And they try to pass that on through classes and teaching the young kids or youth what the tribe is, the
Right.
history of the tribe.
Awesome. And there's just a comment that, some battle tactics are based on Native American techniques and, and then we also know in the Army, as far as the helicopter fleet is honors Native Americans, you know, Iroquois, Black Hawk, Chinook.
Hmm.
We've been in all of them, so it's just great when you think about that. And then even the history of Native Americans being in mentioned this before, being in Korea at Camp Red Cloud, named after a Medal of Honor recipient who his bravery, and so I think it's alive and well, and it's a wonderful thing. Um, but Richard, I just want to thank you for joining us today. We appreciate your service and your commitment and your willingness to share some of your story with us today and the pictures we loved. And thank you for being a friend. It's a great privilege for me to call you a friend. And just thank you for your service to veterans and then also your work in Veterans Health Administration. I
Thank
really
you.
appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
All right. Well, thanks everyone for joining us and have a wonderful day. And everyone have a great Thanksgiving holiday next week. Thank you, Richard. All right. Goodbye. Thank you again.
Thank you.